I'd say, like, when you think about what happened, I think the worst of my time in Africa ever, it wasn't the beatings I got or the fights that I had to be in or the fights that my older brothers, because they were both older than I was, and they would get into fights, and their counterparties delivered, they were suited to be older. So it's messed up when you cannot protect one who you love. But I think the worst part for me was when I had to realize that this was about self-surviving. This was about surviving. And I had to realize that. When I had to realize that it was about self-surviving, maybe about 13, 12 maybe, so still in my adolescence. And this is where, you have the movement to Luga. This is right after my younger sister, well, this is where my younger sister separated. And this is also right after my first encounter with death. This is why I practically fainted out after drowning, or drowning and fainting out. Bottom line, I drowned. My first drowning in a pool. I woke up and they were on me doing the mouth-to-mouth recitation. This was interesting. So that happened, and this is the time of the Z periods. This was when you talk about the fact that this is a Muslim country, but you smell the swine being cooked by the ethnic polytheists. Really, they believe in just worshiping ancestors. So they cook their swine every Saturday. It's a big blast. And that reminds me, because even in predominantly Muslim countries where you have Catholic schools that teach academia, they send Christian or biblical propaganda home with the children. So these were the worst times, going closer to the Sahel, where we're not too far away from the border with Mauritania. And first of all, interacting with the environment. It definitely looks like that you have a lot of dust blowing up. Then you have, you had the school that was brand new, but there were no such thing as scholarships. We had to live across the street. And that meant we had to get our own food. So yours truly and your brother, Mr. Isa, pretty good at that scavenger hunt there. I think these were the times where, even in the summer when we came back, that first summer, is when we found out, like, our younger sister, had been taken to Tuba, and we were not to know when or how she was coming back. So this would be a long, drawn-out custody, and she was gone. She was gone, by the way, for, I want to say, from the age of 6 to the age of 18. So you're talking at least 12 years. But yours truly discovered. So what had happened was that as we were going off to school, and remember, we had to move because we were behind on rent. So my mother sent her to spend time with her father's family in Tuba. And when the holiday was over, or whenever there was time that she wanted to have my sister back, they told her that that was not the more recent orders from the father, eh? So you have to communicate with him, but we cannot allow her to be on her way with you. So that's how that went. So I had to watch my mother go through that for a very long period of time. Of course, from the age of 6 maybe to the age of 11 or 12, like I said, I rediscovered her. I made it on my way back from Bura. This was the time that we actually witnessed the coup of 1994 in the Gambia, from Quran school to Quran school. But before that is where you had your boy Tristan, Falak Abdul Fattah, Ismail Muhammad, where he skipped out. He skipped out right after Luga. Because Luga, there were a lot of missionaries in Luga, World Vision, and there were a lot of these Peace Corps volunteers. So they would put, they would put us on to going to church, actually. They would put us on to, they would feed us, though. We definitely got some great meals compared to, everything else. And they would encourage us to go back to America. You have all your programs, you're a citizen, you should be able to go to college and make a good life in America. Of course, on the flip side of that, you had a lot of people who were, they didn't, they were in rags, telling us, one after the other, you're doing the right thing. Your mother, made the right choice by bringing you here and getting you away from what she says she's getting you away from in America. So just, keep it up and encouraging us of that, or encouraging us to prevail. But no, we didn't get too far while we were there. We still only got like maybe 4 Jews, combined 6 Jews between all of us, without proper tajweed, without really understanding the meaning or anything like that after 3 years. So when we made it to the Gambia, she decided, he had skipped out. He had skipped out while she was trying to get us set up in the Gambia. He had left, in 1990, I believe it was. And then when she came, she brought us to the Gambia, but decided to put myself and Isa, Jesus, the son of Mary, decided to put us in the Islamic school, Islamic Institute, while she put my older brother, she decided to put him in the English high school. I said, what in the world is going on here? And it made it worse that when we went to sign up for the Arabic, they decided to bring down 1 grade. So I had to redo the last grade that I had done in the Luga, in Al-Hanafiya Institute of Luga. It's big now. But it was brand new back then. We just didn't have the scholarships that they promised. But the thing is that, that institute, the following year I met Al-Muallim, Ahmed Abdullah Muallim. And this is 91, 92. And from there, 1.5 years later, we would finish simultaneously this certificate. But the certificate at the Islamic Institute was only for primary, Ibtida'iyah. And he's the one who had the better certificate, because today he has a better certificate. But still, I would have to go to Mbur to practice, because I just finished there barely. Mustafa Ahmed Sen, helped out. But then I would go to Senegal and I would be brushing it up over there. I would be there for 6 months, and on my way back is when the coup took place. As I stepped in, as a matter of fact, is when they closed out the border, and then we made it to take the ferry. The ferry is not running. You didn't have mobile back then. The phones cut off. The booths, those are cut off. The radio stations are also down, and we're in that state until like 5, 6 o'clock, and then the radio station comes on and explains what happened. They take us to the capital. No public transportation is running, but you all have 1 hour to get out the capital or just to get into your own homes. Otherwise, everybody's going to be arrested. So this is the Gambia. Yeah, this is the short time in the the Gambia. Very important period there. With the Quranic Korean activist, and this is why we stand where we stand today. Because we have a.
So let me ask you a question. What made your mother take you over there?
Well, she didn't want. Well, there were two reasons. There were two reasons. The first was my biological father. My biological father, for those who do not know, he was good with astronomy, and he had managed to live as an activist of his own right. So you will have to go back to the secret probes back in 2020 or 2021 when we did something on that. She wanted us to get away from him, but the other reason was that she also wanted us to stay away from either going to jail because we were at the wrong place at the wrong time, or getting killed, because back then is when you had the crack pandemic. This was back in the 80s. So she felt she needed to get us away from those possibilities, which she actually did do. Now, I mean, I lived as an orphan for the rest of my life, obviously. But nevertheless, I mean, she did manage to, alhamdulillah, keep us from that. We got onto other stuff, but it wasn't crack. And we wound up in other situations. It just was not jail. So, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen.
So your father was in America?
Yeah, he was here the whole time. Now I did, again, you got to go back and figure out, and find out. But what happened again is like, even after the Quran was completed, my mother was on her way back from Senegal. There had been a counter coup that same year, some months later. There had been a counter coup that took place in the Bakau barracks, and yours truly was living right next door. So at 2 a.m, he heard the gunfire, the anti-tank, whatever, explosions, everything. He had to hit the ground. But anyway, it was not too long after that where yours truly was repatriated. He would go through the process. This was after only one semester at St. Augustine's High School at the 11th grade, and then transitioning over to Richmond, Virginia, arriving on the first hour of January, first day of 1995. And I think that would be the conclusive step. In that sense, ending, the entire duration in Senegal and Gambia. It's a 12-year duration. Wrapping that up there, and then we would need to talk about the 12 years, the first 12 years on the mainland, since the year of 1983. Inshallah. But that was very good. I thank you for calling in and, going on about that.
Interesting. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah.